to Bad Movie Beatdown. Hey, did you hear? Mike Myers has another movie out. Don't worry, it's just a documentary. But I can understand your concern, especially if you even saw a trailer for The Love Guru. Canadian comedian Mike Myers is something of an oddity when you look at his career. After he hit it big on Saturday Night Live, residing in the hugely successful spin-off Wayne's World, Myers managed to parlay that into film superstardom in a way that only a select few from that show have. This is largely down to the Austin Powers films, which spoofed the James Bond movies in the 60s era they came from, and started as a cult hit to become a blockbuster trilogy. You think with that and providing the voice of Shrek that the world was his oyster, but his filmography is quite slim when you take those three series out. This is largely because Myers is known for being a huge perfectionist and quite difficult to work with, to the point where Entertainment Weekly in advance of The Love Guru had an article that pretty much buried him, but boy is it a great source of information. To give you an idea of Myers' obstinacy, around when Austin Powers 2 came out, Myers was set to do a film version of his SNL character Dieter for producer Brian Grazer, but he refused a $20 million payday because he thought the script was substandard. That may sound noble until you realise he was the one that wrote that script, and according to recent reports, wasn't that bad either. The result was the film was cancelled, and they started fleeing lawsuits at each other, with Grazer calling Myers egomaniacal with inexcusable bigotry. They eventually settled their differences, teaming up with Dieter movie director Bo Welch to make The Cat in the Hat. You know, maybe they were better off just not making a movie together. 2008's The Love Guru was Myers' first live-action movie since Goldmember and was set to be his big comeback, having spent the intervening years honing the character at various comedy clubs, which given the results makes you wonder if they laughed because he was famous or simply out of pity. This is clearly Myers' baby through and through. The director has never helmed a movie before or since, but it was also very personal for different reasons. Myers' good friends were Deepak Chopra, who became his spiritual advisor after his father's death in 1991, and the film was meant to be a delivery system for some wonderful ideas. That probably got lost somewhere because the movie was met with an overwhelming sea of hatred, with a 14% Rotten Tomatoes score and a 24 on Metacritic, and was a huge flop, making back only $40 million of its $62 million budget. The Razzies also took their pot shots, nominating it in several categories and winning Worst Screenplay, Worst Actor for Myers, and Worst Film, and Empire magazine readers voted it the third worst film ever in a 2010 poll, behind Battlefield Earth and Batman and Robin. Myers has responded by going back into hiding, today only emerging briefly for Inglourious Basterds, more Shrek voiceovers in his documentaries. So grab your prayer beads because you're definitely going to need them as we take a trip to explore the questionable spiritual teachings of Mike Myers, the Love Guru.
When I was a child in India, in the tiny village of Haran Makista, I found a voiceover machine, which I still use to this day.
Oh, Morgan, really? I know you've become so known for voiceover that even making fun of how ubiquitous you are has become a cliche. But seriously, the Love Guru? Were you trying to make those paycheck director video thrillers look good by comparison?
In my book, I speak of intimacy. Intimacy is like putting your wiener on the table and having someone say, "That looks like a penis, only smaller."
I think he was trying to make an analogy there, but then he got distracted by a dick joke, and then he lost track of what the hell he was even saying. A common trait across the rest of the film, let me assure you.
It's the story of a hockey player named Darren Roanoke, who became my greatest teacher, or some such bullshit.
Isn't it fantastic when the title character dismisses his own movie as bullshit in its very first scene? If that's really what you think, Mike, write a better script! Cut to Hockey Night, commentated by Jim Gaffigan's Trent Luders and Stephen Colbert's Jay Kell, the latter of whom has a hilarious running gag about drug addiction to disguise the fact that they're Basil Exposition ×2. In fact, this whole profile, supposedly covering Romany Malco's Darren Roanoke, is literally them just describing the setup and backstory rather than showing any of it.
Roanoke brought the sport to a whole new audience.
Black people playing hockey? What in the absurd notion. They don't practice hockey in the hood. A superstar for the Toronto Maple Leafs, Darren seemingly had a perfect marriage to Prudence, played by Meagan Good, until he separated from her because he wanted to shag models. Prudence then started dating LA Kings goalie Jacques Lecoq Grande, played by Justin Timberlake, so named because, well, take a wild freaking guess. As a result, Darren's confidence has taken a significant blow, and so too has his game. So he was the one who left his wife so he could sleep her out, but then couldn't handle the fact that she was dating a man with a bigger penis. You know, some people might consider that karma. And if you think naming a character Big Cock is bad, wait until you learn the Maple Leafs coach is Punch Cherkov, played by Myers regular Vern Troyer. So he gave him a last name that sounds like Jerkoff, so you know he's an asshole, a position that sounds like cock, and a nonsensical first name, so it can either be Cock Punch or Cock Jerkoff. All I know is that Mike Myers spends an alarming amount of time thinking about penises. The team can't win the Stanley Cup without Roanoke, and the owner of the Maple Leafs, Jessica Alba's Jane Bullard, believes the only way to solve the problem is to bring in a love guru. Because it worked for the Yankees, apparently? So basically, Myers wrote a script where the main character is a parody of his best friend, set in his favourite sport, and he gets to hang around with his favourite team. I can't see why anyone could call it a vanity project. We move to Guru Pitka's ashram based in Los Angeles, where Pitka, played by Myers, plays his sitar, which becomes a modified version of Dolly Parton's 9 to 5 that he sings during the opening title montage, showing his daily routine as his buxom female servants clean and maintain his temple while Pitka has his every whim and desire taken care of. Is the joke meant to be the contrast between the lyrics that he's singing about working hard when he's actually living an incredibly easy existence? Or is it simply, hey, wouldn't a Dolly Parton song be funny if you played it on the sitar? This is clearly Myers trying to replicate Austin Powers' Soul Bossa Nova title sequence, and just like Austin, Pitka is a celebrity in his own right, having given advice to the likes of the Beatles and Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes in these sure not to date horrendous photoshops. Oh, and it culminates in Myers sticking his head up his arse, just like his creative process. He can't have been a very good guru because both those relationships are notorious for breaking up. And how old was he when he started working with the Beatles? 15? Another former Daily Show correspondent pops up, John Oliver, evidently trying to outdo Jon Stewart's own terrible filmography. He plays Pitka's manager and his name is Dick Pants. Dick Pants? That's not even clever! That's a name an 8-year-old would come up with! He must have really taxed his brain when he came up with Coach Cherkov beforehand.
Have you seen today's paper?
Don't tell me it's another article about Deepak Chopra being #1.
Not in as many words.
On the front page, no less! Wow, that must have been a really slow news day. As in there was no news at all. Apparently the reason why Deepak is so popular is because he's guested on Oprah. Just go with it. So Dick informs Pitka that the Maple Leafs will pay him $2 million to restore the Roanoke's marriage so they can win the Stanley Cup, and he will get a spot on Oprah as a result, which will make him succeed Deepak, I guess?
Or some such bullshit.
The movie then flashbacks within a flashback to 30 years ago, where Deepak and Pitka as boys go to visit. Ah! Holy crap, that's terrifying! Who convinced them that putting Mike Myers' oversized head on a child body would be funny? I'm gonna have nightmares for weeks! Anyway, they're going to visit Guru Tuggin My Pudder, played by a cross-eyed Ben Kingsley, who proceeds to be all gross and weird, like for some reason pouring tea through his nostrils so he can make sure it's bogey fresh. 30 years ago, Ben Kingsley won the Academy Award for playing Gandhi. Now he's playing... I don't even know what the fuck this is. And he's of Indian descent too, which only makes things worse. Let's skip the doggy-styling missionaries joke and cut to the chase. Pitka lost his parents at a young age and wants to become a guru to attract girls for some reason, so Tuggin My Pudder punishes him by forcing him to wear a huge chastity belt with an elephant on it, because trunk? I get the impression that because Pitka's an American, Myers can claim that he isn't stereotyping Hindus or Indians with his performance. But have you seen Ben Kingsley? In his ashram, Pitka is holding a ceremony for his visitors, including Jane and Cherkov, where he bombards the audience with humorous acronyms. The character character of Pitka is horrible, even leaving aside his questionable stereotyping. He's vain, and the only thing he thinks about more than himself is sex. His appearance itself just looks odd and creepy with the look of a demented cultist about him. And just to add insult to injury, he has not one but two obnoxious running gags, sticking TM at the end of his catchphrases, and peddling his self-help books with funny names that the camera lingers on so you can absorb their genius. Myers trots out these gags time and time again, even though they didn't work the first time, and all these traits combined create a character that is singularly off-putting and loathsome. Quite what he expected audiences to like is anyone's guess.
I myself have a guru, and my guru had a guru Cheddar from under. Cheddar from under had a guru hath a small wiener.
And of course he had his guru, don't Indians have funny names? Post-show he goes to the VIP room for the customary cameos, but it seems the big guest stars of the Austin Powers movies smell the stench of this project a mile away, so we have the C-list likes of Jessica Simpson and a very, very confused looking Val Kilmer. Again, being a disciple of Guru Pitka doesn't seem to work out well for people. Another running gag the movie has is the characters use Mariska Hargitay as a mock Hindu greeting, but then this happens.
Mariska Hargitay. Mariska Hargitay? We are establishing the Mariska Hargitay Special Victims Unit.
You know, I was kind of thankful that Myers explained she was from Law & Order SVU because I had no idea who she was the first time I saw this. But still, it kind of breaks the logic of the joke when she actually turns up for a cameo. Also, is Guru Pitka opening a centre for rape victims? That's kind of awkward. Pitka is introduced to Jane, who he instantly falls for, as represented by this out-of-nowhere Bollywood spoof. Yes, enough of that, please.
Oh! This little guy scared the crap out of me.
Who is this prick?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. You are a midget.
Ladies and gentlemen, the high and enlightened Guru Pitka, who acts terrified of little people and insults them. Nice character consistency. Not having shown himself as enough of an asshole, Pitka then goes into another fantasy sequence, imagining himself on Oprah, who was represented through stock version voice impersonation because they couldn't actually get her. When figures who have prominent cameos won't come near you with a 10-foot barge pole, maybe that's a sign you need to seriously rewrite your script. Jane flies Pitka to Toronto, who tells him she has been a fan of his ever since her father's death, in a touch of autobiography for Myers, and reveals that she has an inexplicable crush on him.
Well, it's hard to believe a girl like you can't find a man. Intelligent, great rack, tight bell-shaped ass, thicker than a snicker.
Yeah. Pilot, can we turn this play around? I think he's gonna force himself on me at any moment. Jane is hated by the Toronto fans ever since her father bought the team because they've not won the Stanley Cup since. You know, maybe Jessica Alba should stay away from movies about curses after Good Luck Chuck. Pitka advises that while others may say bad things about you, you must not say them about yourself, which was probably put to the test after the reviews came out.
I had maintenance paint lines to show me where the crowd can't see me, so they don't boo me and throw stuff at my head.
Well, you know, apart from the fans on the opposite side of the stadium who can clearly see her standing there. Just saying. Pitka meets with Darren, and after proving the connection between his love life and hockey, asks him to write an apology letter that Pitka will deliver to Prudence. This requires sneaking into Jacques' home, and he ends up getting attacked by his guard rooster. This might have been funny if Myers didn't take the joke too far and walks in with the rooster's decapitated head between his teeth. He had cork in his mouth, get it? Yeah, I hate myself too. He delivers the letter, but Jacques finds him.
Whoa! Looks like he's smuggling a schnauzer.
Man, I almost forgot he had a massive dog until he practically shoved it into my face. Thanks for that. Jacques challenges him to a fight, but Pitka teleports himself out of there. Well, that was 5 minutes which went nowhere. He meets Darren at his new Toronto ashram.
Your entourage must stay behind.
They protect me.
Well, they didn't protect you from that outfit, now did they?
What's wrong with shark skin?
More like gay skin, how about? What?
So the guru is wise and intelligent, except when it comes to little people and homophobia. Those appear to be his two weak spots. Oh, an actual wit. What's really compounding how horrible the feeble excuses for jokes are is how Picker seems to be doubling as his own laugh track, because he's always sniggering, smirking, and outright giggling at his immature wisecracks, as if he's trying to fill the empty void from the audience, and it's a trait that's profoundly irritating and self-indulgent. I don't know whether Myers is compensating for his own weak material, or he thinks the audience loves him, but it's clear no one's attempted to rein him in and just let him oversell every single gag. Seriously, Mike, no one likes the idiot at the party who laughs at his own jokes. Especially if they're playing an Indian stereotype. Realised through horrific special effects, Picker manages to access Darren's third eye and get his attention, and he informs him he is going to use the drama technique to mature him. This leads into a flashback to India 15 years ago when Tuggin My Pudder was teaching it to Picker, which involves his students engaging in a dual-wielding mop soaked in his own urine, which is called Stink Mop. I feel actively dumber for having transcribed this.
I am not thinking about my chastity belt.
That is distraction.
I am distracted.
Good distraction frees us from emotional pain. Bad distraction gives you a mouthful of whiz.
Oh, so that explains the bad taste in my mouth right now. Seriously, I don't think Myers is being intentionally racist when he depicts his Indian guru as being a gross, twisted weirdo. That's purely out of his own laziness. Anyway, back to the present, and at the first game of the finals, Picker puts the distraction part of drama and practice by telling Darren not to attack anyone for any reason. Also, despite clearly living in America, Picker is flummoxed by the concept of a corn dog, except for the fact it resembles a penis, naturally, which he uses to rile up and insult the rival LA Kings players so they personally attack Darren on the ice. But hey, at least not trying to get killed takes his mind off his nerves.
Rob Blake is lucky the refs didn't see that.
Yes, they somehow managed to miss the guy cartwheeling through the air off someone's elbow. Not to mention all the other times they viciously fouled him, apparently. Gah! Picker somehow found a way to make his appearance even more terrifying. The practically psychotic Picker now tells Darren he can fight anyone for any reason, which Darren instantly takes advantage of by violently assaulting Jacques and sending the rink into a full-on brawl.
1 game suspension, Roanoke.
Way to go, Roanoke!
I love my job.
2 games.
I hate my job! Poor Vern Troyer is still being trotted out as a punching bag because this is where Austin Powers guys go to die. And since when could referees hand out suspensions while the game is still playing? Isn't that something that normally happens afterwards?
I'd like to thank the Academy.
Put me down, a-hole.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the closest this movie's going to get to winning an Oscar, although maybe he was practicing his Razzie speech. And because that indignity isn't enough, Cherkov confronts Picker and Jane in his office, which for no explicable reason is sized towards Troyer. I'm starting to feel sorry for the poor guy.
What is your plan?
This is completely unexpected and I'm scared shitless.
Hippie queer.
Or maybe not. Seriously, what is with the homophobic insults creeping in? I wouldn't even mention the ball gazer gags. Picker has a breakthrough. Ugh, groan. It turns out Darren has a strained relationship with his mother Lillian and makes him go visit her as the art in drama regression. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. And yet this is still the best joke in the movie.
Why won't you let your mom come see you play?
It's just that you're not always the most supportive.
And after a good whipping, cream rises to the top.
So does scum.
She hits her son in the face, talks about good whippings. Are they implying his mom beat and abused him? Because wow, that's kind of dark movie. Not a lot of humour there. Understandably, Darren buckles under pressure and can't confront her. Luckily, there is another way to regress him. Take him to a bar and do fart noises in a cup. On second thought, maybe facing his mother might be less painful. But it does the trick for Darren as he finds it much funnier than we do.
It was at this point that I realized that my student was finally shedding his defenses. I am talking into my voiceover machine.
That gag might have made more sense if Picker was actually narrating throughout the entire film instead of it coming out of nowhere. And that machine is completely different to the one in the opening. The Leafs lose the second game and Daniel Tosh starts insulting Darren, so Pitka hits him and in turn instigates a bar fight. Obviously this guru doesn't believe in pacifism, but I do like seeing him maimed. Yeah, that's just nasty. Still funny than Brickleberry though. At Niagara Falls, Darren confesses he misses the connection they had with Prudence.
Sometimes we'd wake up a couple hours later, it'd be like we're the only two people in the world. And she'd say,
Damn.
I would like to have a damn moment like that someday.
how can you be the love guru if you've never been in a relationship?
Yeah, some might say it's a pretty big paradox, but it probably explains why Pitka's so profoundly shit at his job, and why he's constantly going on about sex like someone who isn't actually getting any. Jane accepts Pitka's invitation to his ashram, which he seems to be treating as a date, given he's playing extremes more than words as she walks in. Again, because he's playing this on the sitar, this apparently constitutes a joke. I get the impression he might dominate the evening.
Rajneesh will now prepare a dish made of 2 lychees wrapped in a doughy pouch. Nuts in a sling.
You want curlies on your nuts?
Of course I want curlies on my nuts.
Don't forget your pickle.
We get it! The food looks like testicles! You don't need to spend the next minute literally bashing the joke into the ground. No wonder Jessica Alba seems so uncomfortable in the supposedly romantic scene. She looks like she's laughing out of politeness and embarrassment.
There is no curse. You're just afraid of intimacy. Being vulnerable is being woundable.
I think I'm about to risk something. What's wrong?
I can't explain.
But he can explain. He's literally only doing this because the plot says they need to separate. Although it does probably serve him right for using his own self-help advice as a chat-up line. The Leafs lose the third game and Cherkov starts venting his frustration in all directions.
A picker!
Yes?
What's the capital of Thailand?
Bangkok?
My balls!
I don't know why Pitka's doubled over in pain, not Cherkov, considering we've already established he's wearing a giant metal chastity belt with an elephant on the front of it. Dick informs Pitka that if Oprah don't see Darren and Prudence back together by the next game, his spot will go to Deepak, and screams at him to take a shortcut like a child. So at a party for the LA Kings...
How will you get Grande away from Prudence?
I have one idea that just might work. Please welcome Celine Dion!
It is my day of lucky!
Again, the joke kind of falls flat on its face when you can't actually get Celine Dion to do the clearly intended cameo. While Jacques is distracted, Pitka speaks to Prudence and tells her what she had with Darren was much more special and that he's actually changed, during which Jacques overhears about Darren's weakness for his mother. So despite the fact that Pitka has skipped past the maturity and action phase of drama by not overcoming Darren's ma, Prudence and Darren reconcile. Wow, that was easy! I know Pitka's taken a shortcut, but they seem remarkably quick to reconcile and forgive each other considering they were both seeing other people, especially given that was only yesterday. If you thought all that was uninteresting, well, the movie's hitting its own fast forward button because it's montage time. Thanks to our revitalised Darren being back on the ice, the Leafs win the 4th and 5th games and we catch back up with Game 6.
5-hole trap! God, and he saves!
Now, Roanoke fell for the 5-hole trap. The 5-hole is here. You can try to beat him here, or even way down here.
You know, just once, instead of scribbling yet another penis joke on screen, I'd like to see a vagina gag instead. You know, mix things up, equal opportunities and all that. The opening for one was right there. I'm so sorry, please forgive me. Despite this, the Leafs win the 6th game and are now tied with the Kings, and Darren's comeback has secured Pitka's place on Oprah, which he doesn't seem so enthused about anymore, possibly because of his guilty conscience, or he's just realised what a stupid plot this is. So it looks like Pitka's job is seemingly done, which is odd because I thought they needed to win the cup first, but he's sore because he hasn't been able to express his feelings to Jane since he still hasn't tried to explain his vow of celibacy. Dude, she is quite clearly in love with you and a fan of your work. I think she'd understand. There is literally no conflict here. So it's now time for the decisive 7th game of the Stanley Cup. Oh, and the circus is in town, including an elephant, which is so forced I'm sure it won't amount to anything.
Why you got your heads down, Tabernacle?
I still have a few tricks on my sleeve.
Do the LA Kings not have a coach of their own? Has Jacques been single-handedly managing the team as well this whole time? So Jacques finally puts his secret weapon into use by bringing Lillian in to watch her son and sing the national anthem. You know that he could have done at any of the earlier games. And Darren predictably freaks out, which Pitka sees at the airport whilst waiting for his flight to Oprah, and parts ways with the unsubtly named Dick so that he can rush back and help him. He then informs Jane she has to tell Cherkov to call a timeout to buy him some, which requires going out to the stadium and confronting her detractors.
You suck, mother! No, you suck! You can all just kiss my Canadian ass!
Again, that was really kind of easy. I get the impression that in many ways Mars is using this as a vehicle to say that we can overcome our fears by simply confronting them, but then the resolutions are so straightforward, you wonder why they were such a big deal in the first place. And speaking of simple solutions, once Pitka arrives at the stadium, he drops trowel to admit he wears a chastity belt, which he completely understands, so it's a total non-issue. Darren has sealed himself inside the locker room, but he lets Pitka inside.
What is it you can't face?
What'd you just say to me?
What is it you can't face?
I can't face my mom. Will you help me?
I can't.
Well, I suppose he did kind of take my advice and add vagina joke in there somewhere, because it's a running gag that Pitka's accent means that can't sounds like a naughty word. I think he's running a contest to see how crude he can be and still keep his PG-13 rating. So Darren finally stands up to his mother, which is over in about 10 seconds, while Pitka pulls funny faces. And that was the main conflict of the movie! Darren rushes back out onto the ice with only 31 seconds of the game to go and quickly scores an equalising goal, but gets fouled as he's about to score again, leaving only a second to go to take a penalty. Jacques manages to psych out Darren yet again by telling him that Prudence had her own damn moment when she saw the size of his manhood, so Pitka tells Cherkov to stall once more somehow, which he does by faking a heart attack. This is simply so Troy can be abused once more, as EMTs just whip out the defibrillator, which somehow blasts him across the ice into the goal. Man, with all the abuse that Vern Troy has been put through for the sake of some cheap laughs, I find myself thinking about roles that treated him with some more dignity and respect. Like Keith Lemon the film. Pitka needs the ultimate distraction, which is where the circus elephant comes in, because Pitka's assistant Rajneesh brings in Pitka's pet elephants as well, and if you've suddenly remembered tugging my Putta's statement about Shakespeare and Einstein being distracted by 2 elephants humping, you've just come to the horrifying realization of what this has been leaning towards.
Maybe the bad thing.
I mean, seriously, what the fuck do you even say to that? Oh yeah, nothing in the rulebook that says that 2 CGI elephants can't fuck on national television before a penalty shot. Yeah, that's certainly not the definition of cheating. Having got Darren's mind back in the game, which is good because I'm having a hard time focusing right now, he takes the longest second ever to shoot the penalty, managing to overcome Jacques' 5-hole trap to score the winning goal, meaning the Leafs have won the Stanley Cup. Mike Myers just made a cameo as himself in a movie where he plays the title character. How the hell does that even work? This is of course a reference to the infamous moment where Kanye West declared that George Bush doesn't care about black people during a Katrina telethon, whilst Myers stood next to him looking dumbfounded. A moment which is far funnier than anything actually in this movie. And while on the subject of cameos, Deepak Chopra himself shows up to congratulate Pitka on his success, and Pitka has accepted he doesn't need to be the next Deepak when he can be the first Guru Pitka. Hopefully the last with any luck. And after punching Cherkov in the face, they manage to overcome their bitter prejudices. This concludes the flashback as they return to India, where they do the Morgan Freeman gag again, but they still can't get the bloody voiceover machine correct. Alas, there's one final thing to resolve before Jane and Pitka can get together.
You may now renounce your vow of chastity.
May I have the key?
There is no key. There's a snap in the back.
You think he'd have have to finish his vow of chastity before he became a proper guru, and if he's never taken his chastity belt off until now, does that mean he's never been able to take a shit for the last 30 years? And invariably, like any Western movie centered on Indian culture, the movie finishes with a Bollywood-style musical number with all the main cast, which is yet another sitar-based cover, this time the Steve Miller Band's The Joker, bringing this movie to its merciful close. And it's fitting that it ends on a note of self-congratulation, because the Love Guru feels like the product of someone who is far too pleased with themselves. You can see the seeds of the Love Guru in the Austin Powers sequels that increasingly relied on crude humour and penis jokes, but this takes it to a whole new level. I hate to place all the blame on Mike Myers, but when he's the main creative force and is in virtually every scene, it's hard not to. He's downright insufferable in this movie, a giggling nutcase who is so desperate it makes you wonder if Myers was ever really funny. He's so the centre of attention here that he forgets to give many of his supporting players any material of their own, despite a cast of talented actors and comedians who flare around just as badly. The paper-thin plot is simply all about the gags in the moment, disregarding logic's sense of continuity, which is the crucial context of making them funny. Compounding this is, despite Myers' hiatus, many of them are recycled old material from Austin Powers, including Vern Troyer himself, while you're beaten over the head with crass sex jokes over and over, just like all the other lame pieces of humour in this movie, and it makes it seem as though Myers' sense of humour stopped developing at age 10. The worst thing is, this movie sells Myers' talents short as a comedian, and it's so dispiriting because we know he can do so much better. The only real positive is that at least it's less than 90 minutes, no doubt thanks to some heavy trimming. UK comedian Omid Jalili gets prominent billing despite having all his lines cut in the one scene he appeared in, and given he was playing Guru such a big knobber, I think maybe we should all be thankful for that. All I know is that somewhere in the deepest, darkest pits of hell, this and The Master of Disguise are playing as the most punishing double feature ever made. And if you don't want to taint your memory of Mike Myers, stay as far away from this as humanly possible. I'm Matthew Buck, beating down bad movies everywhere.